You guys, as we get started, I want you to see this. This is an article by Tom Ferry. Read what I highlighted in the yellow. It's a article on goal setting. Where will your business come from in the next 14 months? I want you to get really clear on the number of transactions you expect. These little thoughts may seem insignificant, but they're not. They are the most important things that he could have said to you, no matter how many articles he wrote. Setting goals or working on projects, you've got to start somewhere. And the secret is right here in what Tom Ferry says. And oh my God, you guys, that's what this whole video is about. In this video, I am going to teach you how to clearly define your dream. We are going to leave behind any doubt that you can do better. You will learn how to get rid of any rogue fear that's causing you to procrastinate. Any worries about whether you can fulfill that dream or not? Ancient history, my friends. That is what I'm going to teach you today. This video is about how to define going from point A, where you are now, to point B, which is fulfilling your dream. This is the first step of 6, and I teach this stuff all the time. And if this is something that interests you, you know what I want you to do? I want you to subscribe so that we could send you more videos and let you know when we're putting more videos like this together. So hit that subscribe button and smash that like button, because this is going to change your life. I've got a series of slides for you, so let me bring them up here quick. This video is about teaching you how to clearly define how to get from point A to point B. And before you can do that, you've got to be able to recognize what point B looks like. So in this video, we are going to teach you how to quickly and easily figure out what the hell you want to do and what it looks like when you get there. As you can see, I build these cheat sheets for people that teach you how to do this. It summarizes it on one page. And you are literally never going to be uncertain again or confused about where you're going and what it looks like. Point A to point B is the first step to something bigger that we call the revenue roadmap. You'll see here's point A, right? Here's point A right here. Here's point B right here. And here's number 1. This is called point A to point B. It's the first of 6 steps to make your dream literally come true. And it is the most effective and complete system, literal system, for anybody that is interested in defining what their dream looks like and how they're going to make it happen. I ask this all the time as we begin. Why does this concept and idea that we're focused and giving time to matter? You know, why is it so important for us to define where we'd like to end up ahead of time before we begin? Well, it's kind of like this. You know, imagine you have a magic compass at your disposal every day. Every time you have work to do, if it's the right thing to do at the time, the magic compass will point to true north, your predetermined destination. You always know where you're going. You always know what you need to get there. Regardless of all that's on your plate, you never lose sight of what you need to do to get where you want to go. This is what it's like when you define point A to point B. Well, if this is so good, why don't more people take time to clearly define what their end point looks like? One reason is there are some people that just don't have the confidence. They literally don't believe they can do better than where they are right now. So this stops them in their tracks. And because of that, they see no need to dream and define about a future that inside they don't feel that they could do. A second reason is that rogue fear that just paralyzes them in their tracks. In their minds, are saying, I can't do this, or it's too big. Failure hurts. I don't want to fail at this. I'm afraid of other people ridiculing me. I'm just not good enough. It's these thoughts get entertained because of this rogue fear that paralyzes them and they can't move forward. A third reason is it takes them out of their comfort zone. And that's always painful. And sometimes we just don't understand that it takes us walking through this pain in order to grow. So we regress back into our comfort zones and we can't dream about what we want in the future because it's too painful for us to get there. You guys, it doesn't matter excuses people use or hangups. This is how we do it. I'm going to teach you how to leave behind the self-doubt that you can't get better, those rogue, debilitating fears, the worries about leaving your comfort zone. This is how you clearly define what your future success looks like. There are 3 action steps we need to take to get from point A to point B defined clearly. The first thing we need to do is create the right atmosphere so that we are free of distractions. The second thing we need to do is start picturing in our mind's eye literally what point B looks like. And then the third thing we need to do is write it down. So let's talk about the first action, which is creating the right atmosphere. This is really important because you've got to watch the distractions. If you don't watch the distractions, your mind starts wandering and you don't get to do the things that you really want to do. There are reasons people don't take the time to do this. Sometimes they're just in a hurry and they go, I can get through this. I can get through this. Sometimes they just think in their minds, well, you know what? I know what to do. So I'm just going to skip this part. Or, they say, just this one time, I'm just going to jump right into it and do it. And these obstacles take away from what you need to do to be able to block out all those distractions. Be aware of these things. So this is how you arrange your atmosphere the right way, even though sometimes you might feel rushed or you might feel you're in a hurry. We're getting ready. So there's 3 actions or 3 steps that you need to take to make sure this works for you. Number 1, remember, you guys, be mindful of stuff around you. Don't lose the battle of being rushed and just going through things and you're not aware of what's taking place around you. That's the battle. The battle is you feeling rushed. Consciously slow down. Consciously remember you're doing this right now to get rid of distractions. Pick some music that enhances your experience, something you like. Put on your headphones. Set the amount of time you want to do. Maybe you want to do this for 5 minutes. Put the timer on your phone and just put on your music and let it enhance your experience. And then the third thing is choose the position you want. You can sit down, you can stand up to start. I personally, doing this, I like to stand up. I like to close my eyes. I have my headphones on. I have no distractions. And that gets me to start being able to think about what I want to think about. And this will take us into step number 2. But before we get there, let me share you about how I do this with myself, and I'm getting ready to start. I'm in my home office. The first thing I do is I put on my headsets. I've got those big ones, not earbuds that go over the heads. Then I go to YouTube and I look up something. I put in Zen music, sometimes just instrumental. I pick different stuff all the time, but I know I want that soft, quiet Zen type music. I take my phone and I put a 10-minute timer on there so that I know I'm only going to do this for 10 minutes. And then a lot of times I'll stand, but sometimes I actually have a chair in my office that I will sit back in and I will close my eyes as I'm listening to my music. And then I'll relax and I'll start to focus. How do I focus? I start by thinking about my breathing. And I center my mind. So now I'm getting ready to do something. All this is really important, you guys, to get ready, because what it's doing is it is getting rid of the distractions that will get in the way of us being able to focus on a picture that we want to paint in our mind's eye. Step two, now we're going to get into the fun part where we get to use our creativity and literally picture what that point B or our future looks like. You're going to find out it's not as easy as it sounds. A lot of times, because of the rat race, we get jumbled, unorganized thinking, and we think in these little fragments, and it's hard to put a big picture together and keep it going. Sometimes we don't do step number one right, and we let these little distractions have audience, and it clouds the big picture we want. And sometimes we literally get frustrated from all these other little thoughts that constantly pop in our head, because it's impossible for us just to focus on one thing. But this is how you do it. This is how you picture what point B looks like, even though you might be struggling with jumbled thoughts. So you do this in 3 simple, easy steps. You start by creating one general, simple, short statement that you start thinking about. Something simple, and I'll share on the next slide how I do this. From that one sentence or that one thought, you're going to build on that one thought with other thoughts that basically attach to this, right? Then you're going to ask yourself just some short, simple questions that will help you build on this vision in this short period of time. Here's an example of a product that I built. See this big paragraph? It didn't start as a paragraph. It started out with one thought, and the one thought is in red. I have a complete listing leads engine. That's where I started. Then I started to add to that. See, what does it mean to have a complete listing leads engine? Well, it's comprehensive. It's a branded course because I want to teach that to others. So I started to ask myself other questions. What am I doing with this course? Well, I'm attracting the majority of my coaching business with it. How does it work? What is this doing for me? I have paid advertising going on from the cheat sheet giveaways and webinars that I'm putting on. Realtors are setting up appointments to talk to me through my website. I have this big picture I created, but I only started with, I have a complete listing leads engine. Let me share another idea with you that's not written down here. One of the dreams I have is to live part of my year in Belize. So I started with that dream. I said, you know what? I want to live in Belize. And then I started to ask myself questions. I said, well, what's it going to cost me to live down there? Can I work in Belize? What are some of the things that I would be interested in doing down there? So I started to ask myself questions. And from this one simple phrase, I want to live part of my year in Belize, I painted this bigger picture. I came up with a cost of what it will cost me every month to live in Belize. I started to save up for that. I needed transportation, so I saved up and bought a car. What kind of things did I want to do down there? Gosh, I wanted to scuba dive. I want to hike the Mayan ruins. I want to zip line. I want to inner tube in the underwater caves. I want to hike the jungles and listen for the howler monkeys. All these pictures and ideas came to me by spending time and meditating on one little thought first. I want to live in Belize. So do you see how it slowly grows and expands just one little thought at a time? So if I started like with Belize, if I started with, I want to live in Belize, and the first question I wanted to ask is, well, how much is it going to cost me to live down there? Well, maybe I explore that idea and I learn what it costs. And I say, okay, it's going to cost me to live comfortably $2,000 a month. Well, now I might say that I'm going to be living in Belize on $2,000 a month. But you see how it grows and expands? This is how we paint that picture in our mind. As we do number 2, we want to remember action number 3. Don't forget to write it down. Friends, there are even distractions or obstacles for doing something as simple as this. Some people may think it's a lot of extra work to write it down. I don't see the benefit because it's just one thought. Some people think that way. Others will say, others don't have the habit of writing it down because they remember it in their head all the time. So it's hard for them to do, or sometimes hard for them to remember to do. Oh, I'll remember to do this later, and they forget because they're just not used to doing it. And some people say, it's easier for me just to remember because these are just short little thoughts. This is the way I've always done it. It's not that big of a deal, my friends, but it is a big deal to write down. This is how you focus on writing things down, even though it might feel like too much or work that doesn't need to take place. Be prepared before you start. Have a notebook or journal and a pen handy right there so that when you're ready to write while you're thinking about this, you can write it down. Preparation is the cornerstone to your confidence, I always say. All right, and recognize it's a habit to change. If you're not used to doing this, read studies about how important it is to write things down, or how people that write things down have a higher percentage of ability of it literally happening. So that will help you to remember that, man, I need to write this down because it'll increase my probability by 42%, some studies show. Then write it down immediately. Don't wait till later. While I am thinking about stuff, if I come up with something, I stop right away. I pull out my pen and I just may write out a sentence or a phrase or something like that of what I was thinking about. Then I'll go back and refocus on thinking again. But this is how you write stuff down. And this is literally how I did the last paragraph that I showed you in step number 2 of doing this. Remember, I started off with this phrase, I have a complete listing leads engine. That's where I started, and I wrote it down. And I was pondering this. I asked myself a question. I said, well, what does complete really look like? And then I pondered that, and I came up with 2 words. It's comprehensive and it's branded. So I wrote those words down. And then I asked a couple other questions. I said, well, what's this course going to do for me? I said, it's going to attract the majority of my coaching business. So as I wrote that down and I pondered more on the whole thing that I had, now what did I have? I have a complete, comprehensive, branded listing leads engine that's attracting the majority of my coaching business. So now I asked another question. How do potential clients know it exists? And from there, I would ponder that question. I've already got this leads engine, and I know agents are coming to me because of it. And now I ask myself, how do these potential clients even know it exists? And that's going to expand my mind a little bit more to be able to write down a complete paragraph of what point B looks like. Let's summarize. This is your homework for this lesson, point A to point B. Number 1, create the atmosphere before you begin. Being distracted prevents you from clearly defining what you want. Preparation ahead of time is the key to get rid of all these distractions that would get in the way. After you create the right atmosphere, then you start to picture what you want. The picture recreate defines the purpose and gives us direction. It is literally that magic compass that I talked to you about before. So after you create the atmosphere and you start picturing what you want or what point B looks like, then step number 3, you write it down. Studies have shown that when you are mindful of your goal and you write it down, you are 40% more probable of attaining it. So these are the three things you want to do, and this is your homework. Number one, create the right atmosphere. Number two, as soon as you do that, start dreaming one thought at a time. And then number three, write it down as you progress. Remember, you guys, this is the first step in the bigger picture of the revenue roadmap, which is the simplest and most effective system anyone who is serious about doing what it takes to define what the hell they want to do and how and what it looks like in the end needs to figure out. So there are 5 more steps to make this whole thing work. Let me summarize the lesson like this. If you're serious about building a revenue roadmap for yourself so that you are experiencing continual revenue coming in over and over and over, you have got to clearly first define what success looks like, which is what? Which is point B. And it all starts with the training from point A to point B and following through on it. Otherwise, you're going to just experience the status quo. What's that? Well, you're going to be weighed down by self-doubt because you're not going to believe you can get there. You're going to be paralyzed constantly by the influence of rogue fears, and or you're going to hide in your little safe, painless, mediocre world. Is that what you want? You want the status quo? Or do you want to build that revenue roadmap that's going to help fulfill the dreams in the way that you want to live in life? After you finish this homework, then we'll move on to video number 2 called Stages of Your Success.